Hi all, the Allmighty here, and once again against the Almighty Fish. This time it's level 2. Not much to say, played with level 1, and gotta say, I do have a comment. So before I go into it, as I've said, level 2, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes plus 10 seconds increment. Yeah, just to have enough time to talk about the moves. I gotta say that Bjeličić is giving out this rating to its machine, to Stockfish, but in quite honesty, yeah, it's kind of difficult to assess that. So level 1 was, I think, 1350, and this one is 1420. And with the black pieces here, once again, my rapid rating does seem quite good in comparison, but let's see what happens. So on e4 I usually play the Sicilian, and I'm going to do that now. Going for the closed variation, I tend to play knight to c6, always the first move, and when I see this kind of a setup with the dark squares like this, I always like to play g6 to put the bishop on g7 and then roam on this diagonal. And I'm not saying this that you need to do this. This is just some kind of a plan that I use, and I've had, let's say, some luck with it in the past. So bishop to g7 immediately, and now of course bishop to e3 is attacking the pawn on c5. So d6 is defending it, and one option is to push now d4, even though d3, d4 is played, a tempo has been lost, but it's not all that bad. Knight to f6, continuing with the development, and now let's see. So what is white plan? Does he plan to go queen to d2 and queenside castle? Or does he tend to go something like g3, even though h3 has been played, bishop to g2 and kingside castle? Yeah, those are the two possible options, but okay, Stockfish level 1 decides to play once again with the bishop. I will go castle immediately, not really being afraid for the consequences or for some early attack. And now with b3, is there some chance to go for some, I don't know, tactics maybe? So now this diagonal is wide open. Or maybe I should just pause on it for a moment there and wait for a better opportunity. My thinking was play b5 immediately. I could play b5 immediately, but then I'm not liking my sacrifices on e4 or something like that. Even though also I don't want to play h6 immediately to ruin the pawn structure in front of the king. So let's start with rook to b8. A typical move in a closed Sicilian, preparing b5, and I would say usually countered with a4. But okay, first we see queen to d2, and now you have to think about bishop to h6. The bishop will be pinned, and the question is, then you cannot really take advantage of this diagonal. But I don't see any good way how to go against this, so I'm going to push b5 immediately, and then pressure with b4, and then at least occupy as much squares as possible on the queen side. Okay, rook to d1, b4, knight to a4, or knight to d5. If knight to d5, then simply captures, and then this bishop here is quite good. And knight on a4 will be met with bishop to d7, the knight will move, and then I'm going to go against this knight. A pretty simple plan that will probably win me some material, and in the end, probably the game. So now, okay, now the queen has moved to e3, so white isn't all that interested, so Stockfish isn't interested in going castling. Okay, one thing, I do not have yet the best of squares for this knight, so I'm just going to go ahead and play queen to a5. Queen to a5 with an idea when moving the knight somewhere, the bishop and the queen can capture, and then the queen is already infiltrated in the queen side. Okay, now that the knight has moved from e2, knight to d4 is a pretty decent move, and I think this should be winning. So the threat is knight to c2, capture, forking the king and the queen. So yeah, queen has to defend, but now bishop captures on a4, and when pawn captures, queen captures on a4. Double attack on the c2 square. Okay, and this was an intermediate move. I will of course capture, and now this dark square bishop will also be able to come to c3, and this will be a very valuable piece in the attack. So first capture here, I'm expecting rook to d2 to defend the pawn on c2, and then I'll just, simply move the knight. Is it better to move it to b2 to have possibilities of knight to a3, or just bring it back? Okay, knight to b5 seems like a pretty decent move. Knight to a3 is a threat, bishop to c3 is a threat. So let's go for this rook. And I also have to point out that sometimes giving up the dark square bishop, the dragon, for the rook isn't the best of ideas, because this bishop is a valuable piece, but not just as an attacking piece, but also as a defending piece. So giving it out for that rook, you have to be confident that you are okay in your position. Before grabbing the pawn on a2, it is always good to centralize your pieces and put it on better squares, so knight to d4, a good move, I would say. Bishop to g4, not making any threats, at least not the threats I can see. And let's first capture on a2 and then still threaten to capture on c2. Go for the exchange of queens. Okay, queen to g5, and it seems that Stockfish wants to play attacking chess as well. So queen to e7 is a big threat. What to do about that? Well, rook to e8 seems to defend easily, but bishop to d7, then it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. So, but of course, I have to also think about knight to h5 now, because the queen has come on g5. It isn't all that simple, I gotta say. Let's play a defending move first, knight to e6. I wouldn't say that this is the best move, but at least it moves the queen from the g file, or, of course, the bishop has to capture, and now when the queen has recaptured and the queen has come to the defendant post, and pretty much at this point there should be easy sailing, because now I have a majority on the queen side, and this should be pretty much enough. So rook to b7 defending the pawn on a7, and the idea will be to go for moves such as b3. But of course, first have to think about the situation here. So knight to f5, threats like knight to h6, but can I... Okay, I don't want to play queen to f6, because after the exchange the knight will capture on d6, and this will give out some possibilities to white. So quite simply, I think king to h8 is the move that can be played here, and there are no checks nor checkmates, so the pawn on e7 is defended twice, so all should be good here. Okay, and knight goes back to g3, and even now queen to f6 seems like a pretty decent move. Not the best move in the position, but a move that leads to a better endgame over forcing. Not really forcing. Okay, queen to c1 is a possibility, but removing the queen from the attack or forcing the exchange because the rook was attacked on a1. So now it should be pretty much easy sailing. b3, wanting the exchange pawns. Okay, e5. I can simply capture. I think this was one of Stockfish's bad moves, let's say. And now after b3, okay, do I want to encourage rook to a7? Yeah, I think it should be fine. So rook captures on b3, rook a7, rook captures on d3. Okay, there are no threats here. Maybe queen to h6. Okay, queen to b1, c4 defending the rook. Let's see what Stockfish has in mind for this position. Okay, now let's play queen to d5 with an idea of rook to d1. Of course, you can give a check, but then I will just block with the queen on d4. And this knight is pretty much out of the game, pretty much a defensive piece. So queen to d4, I'm not interested in taking this rook. I would much rather like to exchange the queens and then continue on with this game. Okay, queen to b2, now exchanging queens, and yeah, rook captures, c3, and then going just easily for the queen. Maybe first put in some d5 move to support this pawn. Okay, knight to e2, let's come rook to a8, to bring the other rook into the game. And yeah, Stockfish level 2 also didn't show too much of a resistance, let's say. e5, stopping knight to f4, knight to, okay, not knight to d4, but knight to f4 mainly. Rook comes here, king can go to g7, so no threat of actual checkmate. And Stockfish has given the knight as well, so now capture this. Rook f7, I'm guessing. Okay, not even that. Now let's bring out the queen, and let's just finish up this game. Okay, g4, c2, rook to d1 is a threat. On rook to c1. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, guys. I'm just gonna finish up this game. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll pretty soon come with a new video with Stockfish level 3, and I'm hoping for my sake that I can actually reach a respectable level playing against Stockfish. Don't want to embarrass myself too much. Okay, so a nice little puzzle. Yeah, queen to g2 is checkmate in 1 if I'm seeing correctly. So yeah, that was 47 moves. Yeah, I think, yeah, the last game was 30 something moves, so this one was pretty decent. Not much to say. Looking forward to the next one, to the next level. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one. Cheers.